Hi everyone, welcome. What's up? I'm Ben Goss. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am very honored to be joined by a very, very, very special guest. It's a buddy of mine from college. His name is Mr. Frank Iezzi. How you doing, Frank?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for joining me today. I think, so Frank, and like I said, Frank and I have known each other since 2008. And I think you're going to find Frank is one of the most genuine people that I know. He's got a heart of gold, and he's got a genuine, passionate relationship for the Lord. I think you're going to find him, find it very encouraging. I think you're going to hear he's got a great testimony, and I hope this really encourages you today. So, Frank, let's go back to 2008 a little bit. You and I have known each other, like I said, from college, and you and I got started in BCM together. So talk a little bit about that ministry and us meeting and what that ministry has done for you.
Well, BCM was a Baptist Collegiate Ministries, which was a national organization, and we were in the chapter at Augusta State together. You were a member at the time, and so was I. Yep. And we just started hanging out after that.
Absolutely. And that was just a great time. It's one of my fondest memories of being involved in Baptist Collegiate Ministries at Augusta University. So, we met a lot of friends there, and you and I got to know each other, and you knew my brother, and it was just a really cool time. So, go ahead, Frank. What?
It was not a very big chapter, but there was a lot of people there that we were friends with, and we're still friends with most of the people today, and I even got to speak there once.
Absolutely.
No, two times.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew you had spoke there a couple of times, I remember. So I mean, it wasn't a very large chapter, but it was a very impactful chapter. And so let me ask you, so let's kind of start talking a little bit about your testimony. You were born with cerebral palsy. Mm-hmm. And talk a little bit about what the challenges of living with cerebral palsy and the challenges that you face with that.
Well, because of my disability, I cannot do everyday things on my own like you can. I have to have people to come in from different agencies that I know to come and help me get up and get dressed, even brush my teeth or take a shower. And my life is very difficult, but because of those people being in my life and being able to help me, it makes my life a lot easier. I'm able to go to college on my own, and I'm about ready to graduate with a degree in history.
That is awesome. That is awesome. So tell me this: what do you plan? You're about to graduate with a degree in history. What do you plan to do going forward with that degree?
Well, after that, with the ultimate goal of being a college professor someday soon.
That is awesome. Tell me a little bit about what's your favorite aspect of history? Like, what's your favorite part of history?
Civil War or a Revolutionary War. It's a tie between those two.
Tie between both of those?
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it about history that you love so much?
It's a story, and everybody tells it their own way. But you have to make sure you don't forget the little things.
No. And I think one of the things I really like about history, if you know history, if you don't know history, you're bound to repeat the mistakes of the past.
Yeah.
So I think if you learn history, that gives you some education, some guidance as you proceed in life. Because I think we've gotten to, in society, we tend to abandon the history that we grew up with, or history of our country and all that. So that's a different topic for another day. But so Let's talk about, I want to talk about your kind of your influences in life. I know one of your greatest influences is your grandfather.
Yes.
Talk about him, talk a little bit about his impact in your life.
Well, starting when I was a kid, his name was Harold Coleman. And every time when I was a kid and I had a Bible question, Papa would answer it if my mom couldn't. Or Papa would say, well, let's look it up. If he didn't know the answer, he would look it up for me. Or I would sometimes go to Sunday school with him, and we would read the Sunday school lessons together.
Yeah.
And he was just a great man. He had a big influence on my life.
Tell me a little bit about what he did and what was his occupation and what was he?
He was a carpenter for most of his life.
Oh, that is so cool. That is so cool. Did he teach you how to like work with wood? Did he ever show you anything?
He showed me that all the time. I remember doing that with him when I was a kid too.
That is so cool.
So,
that is so cool. That is so cool.
And later in life, he felt the call to the ministry and became an ordained minister at the age of 47.
That is so cool. That is so cool. You know, he. I never knew him, but it sounds like he had just a passionate relationship with the Lord.
He did.
And he recently passed away, correct?
Yes, he did. He passed away February 8th of this year.
Oh, wow. Wow. Well, my condolences. Tell me a little bit more about your grandfather, that people that did not know him, talk a little bit about what kind of man he was.
Well, he was a man that liked to work with his hands. He was always working with wood or clay and things like that. He grew up in Kentucky. And he grew up in the era where there was sometimes not even electricity. So he had to learn to live without electricity or the modern needs that we have today. Because he had to live with no electricity or coal-powered furnace, it helped him appreciate things more, I think.
Yeah, I think when you live with no power or electricity, you start appreciating the little things in life. And, you know, some of that stuff we take for granted. So at that time, when your grandfather was in Kentucky, they didn't have power, but...
or they had power in Kentucky, but they were just starting to get to his part of Kentucky at that point. And he was born in 1938.
Oh,
so
wow.
This is the 40s in America. So
yeah, that was some time ago. But like I said, having power and no electricity, that will definitely start to appreciate the little things in life, I'm sure.
And he had to have a coal furnace to heat the house. That was the other thing he mentioned all the time.
Was a coal furnace to heat the house?
Mm-hmm. And a wood-burning stove.
And a wood-burning stove. That's cool. You got some people today that probably don't even know how to use a coal-burning stove, but your grandfather did.
Yeah.
That's not something.
They had a wood-burning stove in their house in Columbus for quite a few years.
That's something you don't see. You don't see a whole lot of people with wood-burning stoves anymore. It's kind of a thing of the past. So yeah, just kind of going back to your influence. Your grandfather was a huge influence on you, and you're also a gentleman affectionately named Patch the Pirate. Mm-hmm. Talk a little bit about Patch the Pirate.
His real name was Ron Hamilton, and how he became Patch the Pirate was he lost his left eye to cancer in 1978, specifically May 18, 1978. Mm-hmm. And when he came back to church, all the kids gave him the nickname of Patch the Pirate, and the name stuck. And in 1981, he started making children's recordings with his family, and they have done one recording a year ever since then. And they have now done 44.
44?
Number 45 is coming up soon.
44 recordings?
Yes.
Oh, cool. What are they, like musical or...
They are children's adventures with songs and a storyline in each one.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And all of the people in them are either himself, his wife, and his kids, and their friends.
Gotcha. That is cool.
And the name of the company that makes them is Majesty Music, but they have plenty of adult stuff too.
That's cool. I'm not super familiar with him, like other than hearing you and I talk about him, but that's cool. I need to look him up. Patch the Pirate.
I think you would enjoy that, Ben.
You know what? I think I would.
Down here in a couple weeks.
Do what?
His biography, it was written by his wife, and it's coming out in a couple of weeks.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I need to look him up. Patch the Pirate. Patch the Pirate. Does he have a parrot on his shoulder?
No, okay. Actually, they just show him with a pirate patch and a sword.
Pirate patch and a sword. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, I need to look him up. That is cool. So let's talk a little bit about. Talk a little bit more about the influence that he had on you growing up.
Well, when I was a kid, I loved those tapes, and my mom got a. And this is going to date me a little bit, but you'll probably remember this. You remember those tape players that had two decks and they could automatically flip over the cassette?
I do remember that.
Okay, we had 2 or 3 of those because I would love those tapes so much that I would cry when the side was over. So my mom finally found a auto cassette deck that could do the automatic flip over, and I would just listen to those tapes all night.
That's cool.
Now, it wasn't just that, but I would listen to that or something like it every night. And that just got the idea of the Bible and God in my head when I was little before I could read. And that led me to Christ when I was 6 years old. And he just had a big influence on my life because one man losing his left eye, that's terrible.
Oh, yeah.
Look what God used it for.
Oh, yeah. And that goes back to, you talk about a tragic situation like having cancer of your eye, and then just look at what God brought out of that. Look what God has used that in his life to give him, to allow him to reach others as ministry.
And he died last year. So,
that's
and we still making the recordings.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. His legacy lives on long after he's gone. So he's still even though he's not here, his ministry continues. It's bigger than him.
And that was one of his wishes before he died. Mm-hmm. He said, "When I retire, I want this to continue as long as we possibly can."
Well, that is definitely continuing. It sounds like from what you're telling me, and that's really cool. It's really cool to hear. So let me ask you this, Frank. So you're currently let's go back a little bit to your education. You currently are a student at Edinburgh University in Pennsylvania.
Actually, it's not called that anymore.
Oh, it's not called that. Okay, what's it called now?
It's called Pennsylvania Western University, or Penn West.
Penn West. I did not know that. It's good to know.
What happened was Edinburgh University, Clarion University, and California University of Pennsylvania merged. Mm-hmm. And when those 3 merged a couple of years ago, that's when Penn West was born.
Oh, that's cool.
California, PA is the main campus, then Edinburgh, which is where I'm at, and then Clarion University.
That's cool.
Which is a little bit further away.
That's cool. That's on the northern part of Pennsylvania. That's up toward Lake Erie, correct?
Yeah, correct. I'm 30 minutes outside of Erie, Pennsylvania, here in Edinburgh.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. That's cool. And I'm actually going to be up there next August to shoot a wedding. So I hope that we can connect while I'm up there. That would be really cool. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so how much longer do you have in college?
Probably about 1 year.
Probably about 1 year. And then you think you're going to, and then after that, what's the plans kind of after that?
Grad school.
Grad school. Good deal. And you get your master's degree, and then like you said, the long-term plan is to teach.
Right. Be a college professor of history.
Yeah, that'd be cool. That is so cool, Frank. So, talk a little bit about kind of what. Talk about like your relationship with the Lord, and I know you're very vocal about that. I know you're very passionate about that. Tell me a little bit about how your relationship with the Lord has kind of guided you throughout your life.
It started with my wanting those Pat the Pirate tapes so bad because I loved his music, and that was one of the big influences on my life. And my mother was a big influence on my life. And I realized after listening to those Pat tapes and after going to children's church as a kid, I realized, hey, there is something here. I want to be part of this. So I gave my life to Christ when I was 6 years old, and I've been serving him ever since. And I've gotten some unique opportunities because of me being in the situation that I'm in. And I feel that God has left me like this for now on earth to reach other people that cannot be reached otherwise.
Amen on that. Amen on that. I definitely feel the same way. What is your talk a little bit about like what's your message to folks that maybe don't know Christ or they don't have that relationship with the Lord, or maybe they had it at one time and they've drifted away from it. What's your message to those folks?
There's still hope for you. God can make the greatest things out of your tragedy. I mean, going back to Ron Hamilton for just a second, if you please.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Ron Hamilton and what happened to him. Losing his life out of cancer.
Yeah.
But what a testimony God created out of that.
Amen.
Me being in this wheelchair, that's just a thing I write in. That's not me.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
And just because you have a condition, don't let that stop you. Or just because of what you've done or a sin you've committed, that doesn't mean you can't come back. That doesn't mean God didn't die. That doesn't mean Jesus didn't die on a cross excluded for you. There's still hope for you no matter what you've done. If you drifted away, you can come back. It's really easy. Just confess and come back. Or if you've never been there, realize, hey, I need something here. I need to turn and start going on the right path. Okay, I'm going to talk about the times that I spoke.
Yes.
When I was younger, I used to be terrified to speak in front of people. And I was actually 17, or almost 17. I was a week short of my 17th birthday. And there was a problem with my baclofen pump. And they had to fix it. Mm-hmm. And while I was actually in surgery, I felt God pull me and say, I want you to tell as many people about your condition and about your journey as you can. So that was my first call. Mm-hmm. And I've been speaking since I was 17, and I spoke twice at BCM. And there weren't necessarily a lot of people there, but I enjoyed it and they enjoyed it, and I just used my story to minister to as many people as I could that night.
Awesome.
And you were there, you were there the first time, Ben.
Yes, I was. I distinctly remember that. And, just how, God used you that night and spoke through you. And I don't, like I said, I don't remember, I remember a lot of BCM, but I specifically remember your talk that night. So it was a really cool time. And
you helped me put the PowerPoint together for it.
You know what? I remember that. I do remember that. I helped you put the PowerPoint together for that. Of course, you gave me the material, but I tried to put it as best I knew how to operate PowerPoint at that time. Frank, to close, let's talk a little bit about your college experience and what that has been like since you've been going to school in Pennsylvania.
Well, I started in Augusta, and when the education system basically bottomed out, I decided to move to Pennsylvania and attend Edinburgh University because they had a much better system for physically disabled people like myself. And at the time it was called Edinburgh University, but it's called Penn West now. And at the time they had a fully functioning dorm with 24-hour care attendance in it for those that qualified for help. And because of me being in the dorm for those 2 years that I was there,
yeah,
I'm able to better direct it in my own apartment now.
Oh.
And I've been in this apartment for 10 years, and I am about a mile away from campus here.
That's cool. Do you think that Pennsylvania does a little bit? Do they have a little better services for disabled people than Georgia does?
Way better than Pennsylvania is way better than Georgia in a lot of respects.
What area do you feel like they're better? Or like what specific example do they have that is just for our viewers to relate to? How are they a little better than Georgia?
Well, as I talked about before, I have people that come into my home to help me with day-to-day tasks. They're called the home health care aides. Mm-hmm. In Georgia, they had that, but I didn't qualify. In Pennsylvania, almost anybody with a disability that qualifies for some sort of waiver can get a home health care attendant if they need. In Georgia, it was impossible for me to get it. We tried numerous times.
Well, yeah, that's not good. That's something Georgia needs to greatly improve in. But I'm glad you were able to find that in Pennsylvania. I got another thing we can talk about. Like talk a little bit about. I know that you're passionate also about your dogs that you had that helped you. You used to have a dog named Samson that I remember. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about them and what they have done for you.
Well, Samson was a purebred Australian Shepherd, which I had for 13 years.
I remember Samson.
We decided to train him as a certified assistance dog for me. And I brought him up here to Pennsylvania with me to finish his training when the Georgia training was finished. Mm-hmm. And it took him, give or take, 9 months to get him where we wanted. And he came to me as a service dog when he was 2, although I owned him the whole time. Mm-hmm. And he was my service dog for the next 10 years or so before we finally retired him.
Well, yeah, that is amazing. Those animals help out, and they do a lot for us. I mean, do a lot for people.
He was able to pick stuff up for me if I dropped it. He was able to open doors for me. He could even turn on a light switch if I asked him to.
That is so cool. Thank you, Frank, for joining me. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you on the show. And you're planning on coming back in the future and join us again for another episode.
Yes, you're welcome. And sure I will. Just let me know.
Will do. Well, thank you so much, Frank. And once again, thank you for being on. And we'll look forward to having you on in the future.
I'll be here. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.